Momentum. When treated like the earlier phases, with no boundaries or time constraints, the craft phase may extend longer than necessary. Once enough data is collected and the vision is clear, it can be helpful to set deadlines for completion. The options are no longer unlimited. The process is less open-ended. There may not be a clear finish line in sight, but the core elements are there. Imagine you have a script that has been translated to storyboard. Going from storyboard to finished film is somewhat of a mechanical process. There is art and inspiration involved, and there are a million choices to be made. But the path ahead is clear. Our creative task now has narrower parameters. If we're pleased with the blueprint, it could be constructed many different ways. As long as we continue referring back to make sure the developed project is as good as the original plan, there could be several different versions that all ring true. The power is held in the underlying structure. If the project were a building, we're picking which materials to clad it in and what types of windows to install. You may have a preference, but the building will maintain its integrity. The details matter, but they aren't likely to sink the enterprise. In the craft phase, deadlines are suggested completion dates rather than set in stone. There is still an element of surprise and exploration throughout our execution, and it's possible to find ourselves at any moment back in the experimentation phase. While crafting, an artist might succumb to outside pressure to set a fixed release date for their project. Preparations are made. Outsiders are notified. Then sometimes, as we work diligently toward the final stage, an entirely new and preferable direction might appear. But the artist is left without the time to pursue it, and this leads to a compromised result. The artist's goal is not merely to produce, but to make the finest work they are capable of. The business thinks in terms of quarterly earnings and production schedules. The artist thinks in terms of timeless excellence. While crafting, make deadlines for your own motivation, not necessarily to be shared with others unless it helps with accountability. Once the craft phase is nearing an end, then we might start thinking in terms of fixed deadlines. Crafting contains a paradox. To create our best work, we are patient and avoid rushing the process, while at the same time we work quickly without delay. By remaining too long in this phase, many pitfalls may arise. One is disconnection. If an artist is creating a beautiful work and keeps endlessly crafting it beyond the need, sometimes they suddenly want to start all over. This can be because they have changed or the times have changed. Art is a reflection of the artist's inner and outer world during the period of creation. Extending the period complicates the artist's ability to capture a state of being. The result can be a loss of connection and enthusiasm for the work over time. Another challenge we might call demo-itis. Demo-itis happens when the artist has clung too tightly for too long to their first draft. The danger of living with the unfinished project for too long is that the more often an artist is exposed to a particular draft of a work, the more final that form can become in their mindset. A musician might record a demo of a song very quickly. They could listen to it thousands of times and imagine developing it to all it can be. Yet when it comes time to actually make the best version of the song, the demo may be so ingrained in their head that any changes to it seem blasphemous. When we become overly attached to a premature version of the work, we do a disservice to the project's potential. To avoid demo-itis, there is a simple technique. Unless actively working to make something better, avoid listening to it, reading it, playing it, looking at it, or showing it to friends. Work as far forward as you can while crafting, and then step away, without repetitively consuming the unfinished work. By not accepting the work in progress as the standard version, we leave room for growth, change, and development to continue. Keep in mind that it's also possible for something great to be made very quickly. An artist might spend 5 minutes sketching an idea for a project and think very little of it. They might sense the seed of something great, and then spend hours or years trying to develop it into something more. But it is possible that the initial sketch or demo, born in all of 5 minutes, was actually the best version, the seed's purest expression. We may not realize this until after embellishing it or stepping away from it for a while. Another impediment some come across is that their vision for the work exceeds their ability to manifest it. They can hear the drum line, but the rhythm is more complex than their ability to play. They can picture the dance, but their body can't perform the moves gracefully enough. It might seem as though the next step is an impossible leap. In these moments, it's easy to feel discouraged. We mistake the fantasy version of the work in our minds for what the actual work has a possibility to become. There may indeed be times when our mental conception of a piece translates almost directly into the physical realm. At other times, it's unrealistic, idealized version. And sometimes our vision for the work is a goal to work toward. And in the process we come to learn, we'll reach a new and unexpected destination. Falling short of grander visions might actually put the work exactly where it wants to be. Do not let the scale of your imagination get in the way of executing a more practical version of your project. We may come to realize that this version is better than the initial, seemingly impossible vision. When you're on a roll in the craft phase, work toward a full first draft. Maintain the momentum. If you reach a section of the work that gives you trouble, instead of letting this blockage stop you, work around it. Although your instinct may be to create sequentially, bypass the section where you're stuck, complete other parts, then come back to it. Sometimes solutions to these difficult pieces will reveal themselves once the overall context has emerged. A bridge is easier to build when it's clear what's on either side of it. Another benefit is that if you're stuck at a section in the middle, it may feel overwhelming to know you're only halfway through the work. If you finish the rest of the draft and return to the portion you skipped, it feels more easily achievable when there's only 5 or 10% of a project left to complete. With the end in sight, it's easier to feel motivated to finish. If you're holding a center puzzle piece in your hand and staring at an empty tabletop, it's difficult to determine where to place it. If all of the puzzle is complete except for the one piece, then you know exactly where it goes. The same is generally true of art. The more of the work you can see, the easier it becomes to gracefully place the final details clearly where they belong. Art is choosing to do something skillfully, caring about the details, bringing all of yourself to make the finest work you can. It is beyond ego, vanity, self-glorification, and need for approval.